Yep.
All right, I'll do the intro.
Okay.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to Wowhead Weekly number 81. We have tons of movie news to talk about today. There was a new beta build, all sorts of fun stuff. But before we get into that, I would first like to introduce my lovely co-host, Wowhead site manager, Perculia.
Hey everyone, Pepe is a cupcake, and we have tons of movie news and the first Legion build that we had that is officially in beta. So yeah, let's get through all the Legion stuff first, and then we'll get into like this deluge of movie news, and then we'll round it out with some instructions on, some giveaways and some cool new merchandise that's out there.
Oh my god, it's not in our notes because I haven't uploaded my video yet, but I have a video coming out tomorrow with Legion Beta giveaways.
We should talk about that too at
I'm
the
excited.
end.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, first thing we should talk about, though, is the new Legion Beta build, which hit last night. Lots of new stuff in this build, and do you want to start off talking a little bit about the respec and talent changes? Now, how different are these from the last build? Because I know in the last build you could respec whenever you wanted.
Right. So you can still what they did is that you can respec whenever you want, but they moved the entire gold cost associated with respecing, so you can just swap between specializations freely. Of course, keeping in mind that you have to put in the work to earn your alt artifact weapons, so you can't just like respec and then this weapon comes down from the sky and you're have the perfect year. So you have to put all that like extra energy into making your off spec good. So Blizzard said that they removed the cost because you had to put enough work making your alt spec good. But they decided that they felt they needed to change how the talent selection works so it was more restricted. And how it works now, so how it works in Warlords is that you need those like tomes to swap between talents.
Yeah, but those are like personal tomes.
Yeah. And then currently, well, like when the Legion Alpha started, you could just like click between stuff freely. And then they said that was like too free, and that they felt that it was kind of easy for players to swap talents like every pull in a dungeon based on what it needed, and it felt like your spellbook had every single talent in it situationally instead of making a meaningful choice. So they said that they wanted to make talents restricted outside of safe rested areas. So in a city, you could, swap between them freely, like if you're trying things out on a target dummy. But if you're in a raid, someone needs to drop this tome, and everyone
it's like a feast tome.
Yeah, and so they made this long blue post about that a few days ago, and then in Thursday's build, they added what the name of the tome was and what all the materials were. And it's like a feast tome. It's the War Tome of the Sharpened Mind, and it takes why is the link not working? But yeah, it takes like 200 scrolls, and here we go. It takes 200 light parchment, 10 sallow pigment, and 100 roseate pigment, and then anyone within range can adjust their talents. And yeah, I mean, this was a pretty contentious topic. Watcher made a follow-up post on this, clarifying a few things, that the scribes would make this item, but anyone could drop it. It's not restricted by profession, so it's not like Jeeves. Because it is meant to be something we're meant to think about, it would be along the lines of a group consumable, not individual consumables. And yeah, just reiterating that they were concerned that it would start to feel like you had all abilities available and this was a super lengthy spell book if you could just, change talents like every 10 seconds.
I don't know. I feel I've mixed feelings on this, because part of me likes that they've done away with a lot of things, like reforging was one of those things that was mandatory and not very fun, and like, they removed a lot of the gem slots, so there's less to worry about in that sense. But I don't really feel like there's so many players that are like min-maxing their talents in between every pull that was like a necessary change. And I almost worry that that's going to, like, it's going to negatively...
I feel like the item has, like, shown a spotlight on this, while most players before were just like, oh, my talent. Now they're like, oh, there's this consumable, like, I need to, like, bring the consumable to the raid now and use it all the time.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, how often that's really planned to be used, because honestly, like, right now there are times when like, okay, like for this very, very specific boss fight, I might switch to a different talent. But for the most part, I run the same talents. And I know that like
Yeah.
specifically like holy paladins are one class that tend to switch a lot, but it seems like it seems odd. This just seems like an odd change. I just don't. I know they're probably trying to chill out people who min max.
Yeah, I'm also thinking of people in outdoor leveling zones. Like, suppose you're questing or you're doing like a world quest or you're on some elite,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh man, I want to, swap to so I can have this other cool talent because it's better against the elite, or I'm dying doing this, let me swap. Like, you wouldn't be able to do that now. So I feel
Yeah.
like for a lot of people just sort of, chilling, playing an alt or questing casually at their own pace, this might kind of be a deterrent that they can't just swap on the fly and experiment out there in the world.
Yeah, I understand the idea of not wanting people to overly micromanage every little thing. Like I do get that, but in the same sense, like this seems like a weird place to do that. Like I feel like there was like in my opinion, one of the things that's really odd about like warlords is that there's no good feast. Feasts are bad. Like if you're a mythic raider, you're paying a crap ton of money because the good food is significantly better than feasts.
Right.
But there's no feast version of that. So you have to buy it all individually and you're wiping and whatever. So it seemed to me like something, if you're looking at like micromanaging things, like adding a feast in place of good food would have been a better idea than like don't respec here and there. I don't feel like there's enough people doing this where it was necessary. I mean, it doesn't really
like
affect
maybe
me,
a
but...
cooldown could go there, like if you respec like you can't like if you respec it first and then you can respec quickly again, but then there's a longer cooldown in between, like the penalty gets larger if
yeah,
you're,
like diminishing
swapping
returns.
yeah, kind of like almost like a res timer. Like
yeah,
if you keep dying, like eventually you'll have to think, so you don't just go to the same area and die again.
No, I totally agree. I feel like that might have, but then again, I also haven't seen this actually in practice yet, and it might be one of those things where everybody's like, "Oh God, this seems like such a major change," when truthfully, it's not going to make that big of a change. If anything, it might be one of those things where the raid leader or, your GM, whoever it is that's making calls like that, is actually considering factoring that into fights from now on. Whereas right now, it's like, okay, maybe 3 people are changing their talents for this boss, but maybe it's another way of looking at a boss and saying like, okay, are we going to need to respec before this because we'll need these talents that slow or we'll need these talents that CC. So on the flip side, it could be a really positive thing because it could be something that's more considered now than it is more considered in the future than it is now for like
one thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and that's obviously not for like super high end guilds, they consider that, but someone at like my guild's level, that's not something we write into our strategies that we give people. But if there was a cooldown like that and say the cooldown is an hour, like we would have to decide when to use that if we were going to use it, because you can't have someone just willy-nilly pop it on the fly. It's like the ring cooldown that has to be planned. So it could actually be really good specifically for like mid-tier guilds.
I was also going to say, because I'm just looking at some of the comments and there was some confusion, like someone was like, oh, for tank, if I'm in a dungeon and like the tank leaves and then I need to tank, like, what's going on, am I screwed?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, like the specialization change is still free, so like you can just swap, from Fury to Protection spec, and that's for free.
Yeah.
And because Protection has, its own group of talents, like you will just get those talents for free. You don't have to pay a tome to get rid of your Fury talents and get Protection talents instead.
Now, when you swap between, because I haven't actually swapped specs at all yet on the beta. When you swap between specs, like it would save, like say something like a druid has 4 specs. So when you switch from guardian to feral, it'll save and switch your bars, and then when you switch from feral to resto, it'll save and switch. That's actually really neat.
Yeah, so you don't have to choose the 7 talents again when you swap. It will remember your favorite ones from last time.
You know who I do feel bad for though? I know a lot of people who run multiple. Like I know someone who plays a holy paladin and he runs 2 different holy builds.
Right.
One's like Shockadin and then one is really heavy healing. So I do feel really bad for, and it's generally healers who do that. It's almost always healers who do that. But I do feel really bad for those people who do have separate bar setups and do have completely separate talents that are going to have to go back and forth, if they are even able to do that at all, because with this war tome, you're not going to have that freedom to switch between one holy spec to another depending on the fight. So I do feel for people in that situation. I don't know if that's something they'll consider maybe sometime during the beta, because I don't think that's that uncommon. So I do feel for people in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I know they were saying that they wanted healers to feel like they, could do some DPS and level, fine as they're, questing in the world. But I mean, there is something to be said as like, okay, I'm a healer that's going to take some talents to get by questing versus, oh, now I want to pick more Healy talents when I go into the dungeon.
And like that's a big, look, you'll have to go back to a city in order to do that, because there's a lot, like particularly when I think about this, I think of Resto Druids. Resto Druids
I'm thinking of the affinities. Like, I'll be like a bear affinity if I'm questing to have extra strength, but I'll pick a different affinity.
So you're actually going to have to go to a city to like pick different. It just seems it seems like there's a little bit of an oversight there. Like maybe the War Tome should only be valid in raid or dungeon zones, maybe even just raids. Because I mean,
the first thing that came to mind is that are they worried about people in like Mythic plus dungeons like changing every second to get the fastest time?
Okay.
And then it's like maybe like this is just trickling down onto things like quests which are totally unrelated, which people wouldn't be
an unintended consequence of the change. And that might be something that they definitely, I mean, it's obviously this was the first time we saw it in this build. There's lots of time for feedback and changes, and it's definitely a good topic of discussion of what could possibly be changed to make it better, or is it going to work the way it is implemented. But you have a good point with the Mythic plus dungeons with people that would be
but they could just like add a cooldown or something to it,
or only make that work in dungeons, so that before people accept their queue, they can just change their talents if they're outdoors. You should be able to change your talents if you're out by yourself. That's silly. Anyways, we've talked a lot in the past few weeks about the Order Hall sets, and this build added some new ones, including Monk, Shaman, and what is a Half Mage?
We have all the set except the top part of the skirt.
Oh.
Does it exist?
Oh.
So that sounds like we have half the set.
We have half the mage. Now remember, these are all recolors of the Mists of Pandaria challenge mode gear with slight variations. The build also added full models for all 12 sets. And
onto Wowhead, which is cool because that means the dressing room works, so you can actually see what they look like on your character versus just the videos. So
and you do have to do something special to get each set, or each set piece rather. You'll do your whole Order Hall quest line, and then there's little things you have to do here and there. I know that one of them is like defeating Gul'dan, right? And he's the second raid.
He is for the art. He's for an artifact appearance. He's a little too advanced, but this is more stuff like defeat the final boss of Legion dungeons, or like get honor with Nightfall. And so it's actually not. It doesn't sound super hard, but you have to do a few different things in different parts of the game.
Yeah, so it's not so much difficulty; it's commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always like it when they have stuff like that. I was really excited about this. So we got some new models in this most recent build, and the one that I'm most excited about is the Inferno Mount, because I thought the Inferno Mount was super cool when it was still on the Groundling skeleton, but it's no longer on the Groundling skeleton. It's on its own skeleton. It has its own animations, and I clipped up a video of it so you can see it like walking, running, doing like its RP run, as well as its mount special, which is really funny. Cool. It like takes its own head off and like chucks it, but it's got like a gravitational pull, so it like comes back. It's very trolly. So the video is about a minute and a half long. Check it out. Maybe. Hold on. I got this.
Do you want me to talk about
No. It'll be fine. It just I can now use it. There we go. See, I told you. And now it runs standing upright, like you see. It's similar to the Shredder animation, but it's certainly not the same.
People have said that it's reminiscent of the male Warden animation.
Oh my god, it is.
This guy looks pretty different, so.
Yeah. Oh my god, with the hands coming out when he jumps, that does look like a male Worgen. And here he is, he took his head out, he chucks it, but his gravitational pull pulls it back in, which is really funny. You can see it's in his hand there. And whoop. Pretty good. I'm really excited about those mounts. I think they're really, really cool, and I think I was pleased with them when they were on Grondling skeletons, but they certainly look better with their own animations. Someone asked in chat if it flies. I don't think we have a flying animation for it. No.
Let me.
I watched the whole
up.
video and there wasn't a flying animation, but that doesn't mean there couldn't be one added in the future. Although I can't imagine, would it like swim in the air?
Yeah. I am just looking to see if it, what it's listed under. Let's just see, yeah, I'm not quite sure just looking at it. It doesn't say, like, changes.
Yeah.
This mount changes whatever based on your location.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense if it was a ground mount because the other PvP mount is also a ground mount, the horses.
Yeah. Well, PvP mounts are usually ground mounts because you can't fly in PvP.
Right. You want to show them off as you're doing the PvP.
Yeah, but they're very, very
Running
cool. There's multiple colors. I think there's like a golden version and also a blue version, and they are earned through PvP. Also, the Apexis event, weekly like holiday event, was changed to a World Quest event in Legion because Apexis crystals will be gone forever. I'm
sure that makes some people happy.
Well, it's funny because I always just say like I don't really know what everybody's problem with those Apexis because like they weren't mandatory at all.
Right.
Like you just did not have like I did the quest to get Draenor flying. I did that stuff to get Draenor flying, but like at no point did I ever say, "Oh, I need to grind out Apexis to get this blue gear." Like,
I think just the whole system was just sad. Like you mentioned, it's like, oh, like Apexis, blue gear. Like it just was this sort of sad.
It was
system.
like it was very much one of those things that I feel like when this board meeting happened, I always picture these Blizzard board meetings as being hilarious, like just a bunch of like nerdy guys and gals in like their World of Warcraft attire, like pitching ideas and like drinking coffee. But so I picture this roundtable meeting and someone's like, all right, so we're going to have these crystals. You can get them from like everywhere. They're going to be the main currency. You're going to use them to buy everything you need. And then someone was like, that's overpowered. We should give it blue gear. And so like the merger of these like two ideas, like maybe it was a good idea in theory, but when it got changed,
I think they were trying to go for like Ogrelon nostalgia, which had Apexis crystals, but I don't know. They they didn't sort of reach their full potential. And then they made all the gear that cost Apexis cost gold, so it's like, what even is an Apexis crystal?
Well, I mean, at least towards the end, when they added Draenor flying, there were some kind of cool rewards you could buy with Apexis crystals. Like, they did have a redeeming moment. That mount is sick. And that mount is going to be especially cool when people come back. Because right now, WoW is, every time you get towards the end of an expansion, and, like, the game is 12 years old, WoW is at, a lower end of subscribers right now, which is the nature of the beast. But that means that when all these people come back after the Warcraft movie hype, after the Legion hype, once they've maybe burned themselves out on Overwatch, you're going to have that mount and they're not going to have it. They're going to be like, oh, how do you get that? And you're going to be like 150,000 Apexis crystals. And they're going to be like, I'm not doing that. So we can look back on Apexis fondly as the mounts we got while they weren't playing. We also have some new pets added in this build. Squirky, which is a battle pet from the Great Sea.
He was that like baby plain Murloc from last build that
the little orange guy.
We thought it was related to like BlizzCon or the anniversary because it mentioned November in the flavor text, but they added information. Oh, I forgot a pet to mention. Anyway, so they added some information about him, and maybe he's hidden somewhere in the Great Sea, like Turkey. Like maybe it's similar,
like some sort of grotto cove thing. Yeah. Interesting. What did you forget that you wanted to remember? So
if you go onto the front page of Wowhead and you look at the feature box images, you'll see like Legion beta key, and then you'll see beta build, data updates, and there'll be this Khadgar's head in this glowing.
Oh my god! I took a picture of that to add to the show, and when I didn't see it in the show notes, I was like, "That's okay. She'll end up talking about it." Here it is, because I was like, "What in the crap is this?" It reminds me of Futurama when you see all the like. There's like the Doctor Who's and all the this and that, and they're all like in floating like liquid bubbles. What is this? Is this like Guilty Conscience Khadgar? What is this?
So it's a battle pet?
No! It's not a battle pet! That's not okay.
It is the Wondrous Wisdom Ball.
No.
It can't fight in battle. It's a companion. It's from the quest Enemies Everywhere. And the flavor text is a magical wisdom-filled head In a ball bearing Khadgar's visage, it can only answer questions with a few
No.
phrases.
Oh my
And
god.
people, I haven't done the quest yet, I'm working on it, but apparently people are saying that you get it after you do some, like, very lore spoilery quest, and this is some sort of communication device.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever
Which
seen in my
is
entire
not that
life.
Khadgar, like, gets his head chopped off. This is an illusion of him. But yeah, he does look very funny.
It looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, what? Why does that exist? Why?
I made a joke. I'm like, this would be an outstanding movie promotion item because now we're seeing Khadgar everywhere. It's like,
Oh my god, that's so silly. When I saw that, I didn't know it was a battle pet. I thought maybe it was some sort of like, I don't know, maybe you know how sometimes when you're doing quests in Legion, like there'll be the pop up at the bottom where like Illidan will talk to you personally. So I thought maybe it was something. Well, while you were doing a quest, this little like Khadgar bubble popped up and was like, hey, don't forget like the Microsoft paperclip, but Khadgar version. Although it sounds like that's what he is. Still, just it's the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, he looks ridiculous.
Everybody's calling him Khadgar the Magic 8 Ball. Your future seems unclear. Oh my god, that's ridiculous. That's so silly. Also, there was the fawn reward from the Broken Isles Safari, which is, I assume, a little deer pet?
Yeah, it's the rescued fawn. With enough of your love and tiny milk bottles, she will grow strong enough to rejoin the wild. And she is a reward from catch every battle pet in the Broken Isles.
So there's something sort of ironic about you having to nurse a baby fawn back to health, but then you never actually release it. You keep it forever as a battle pet for a reward. Like that, something about that just seems odd. Like I was going to return this fawn to the wild.
Not cageable and unique.
Yeah, so, well, you're still not releasing it to the wild.
No, that's the thing. Like you can't cage and release it.
Ridiculous. There's also some new titles that popped up in this build. Dreamer, which is for defeating Mythic Xavius, and Vengeance Incarnate for defeating Mythic Gul'dan. Dreamer is a sick title.
Yep.
I really like that. I don't really care about Vengeance Incarnate. That sounds too angry.
It feels like a Demon Hunter title.
It does seem like a Demon Hunter title. Or even like a rogue. Or a warrior. Somebody who punches people.
Yes. I can see that.
But I play a Resto Shaman. I'm hardly Vengeance Incarnate. I'm like Soggy Vengeance is what I am.
Yeah, you're more dreamer, like relaxing and.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to talk about some of the new guides on Wowhead?
Yeah, so last week we started introducing some of our overviews for various Legion topics, and because that's a lot of info to take in at once, we've been trying to highlight one, every few days in the news. And one that we wrote last week after seeing all the new players on the beta was getting started in the Legion beta because so many people didn't know what was, there's a lot of changes, and that infographic that Blizzard made, it just, covers like step one, and people were asking, how do I set it up? Like, what happened to my talents? Like, how do I apply a glyph? What does this dynamic questing mean anyway? Why are there PvP talents? Where is the transmog vendor? So we made a guide on how to get started in the Legion beta, and people really seemed to like it, so that was cool. And then we also highlighted our order hall guide because we made updated videos for every order hall and like what is the purpose of the order hall. And then we also highlighted our battle pet guide because, as we mentioned before, there are tons of new pets and toys and rewards, and we have a lot of more guides to feature. I'm going to try to get the reputation one updated and featured because Blizzard keeps adding more stuff to reputations. And if you want to see all the guides we have done already, if you go to that Legion information section on the front page, it links to everything like demon hunters and class changes and Legion armor sets and professions and our transmog FAQ. So yeah, check all that stuff out.
You had mentioned earlier in your the first guide that you talked about was the getting started in Legion beta video or guide, and I actually did a video that hit all the key points of that guide, which is where I'll be giving away beta keys.
Awesome.
So that's going up tomorrow. I'm going to edit it tonight. It'll go up tomorrow morning. Cool. Okay, so this is really fun. So we have some just general fun stuff to talk about. Yeah. And so longtime World of Warcraft fan Phil Harmonix made a mixtape that was inspired by the Wu-Tang Clan, but it's all like World of Warcraft lyrics. And one of the songs was specifically about Wowhead. So for your listening pleasure, I present to you Woocraft.
In a game as complex as World of Warcraft, almost no one knows everything that there is to know about this game and its universe. Fortunately, there are online resources that provide up-to-the-second news, knowledge, and information about one of the most popular games in history. If you ever have a question, there's no need to ask another player. Simply log on to wowhead.com for the answer to any question that you can think of. Wowhead.
Hey yo, it's dangerous to go alone, so take this. A resource for those who's known as lifeless. I might just look up the Legion, the new regions with fell demons. Spend the evening reading, check out the new specs, talent trees. Wonder how Blizz can balance these PvP. I know I should wait. The ones through the gate getting spoiled every day when it pass. I can't wait. I pour through every data mine model plate, cloth, leather, and mail to date. Every artifact, even placing it out, forget it taste over YouTube, refreshing the views and salivate. Research my class tactics, can I hack it? With guys how to rate like a pro, we even crafting. Transform from noob to badassness. In short, if you have a question, never ask, go to Wowhead, 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 Wowhead. Pride still be alive after you dead. Wowhead, 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 Wowhead. Pride still be alive after you dead. For every quick glance at the side, I get engrossed. With every screenshot, page, and post. Every hit of the database, every guide, every quote. Grant a bit more knowledge to know. Could spend a whole day on a mock section, no question. I gotta look fly whenever question perfection. It's just my reflection, it all needs to match. From armor and weapons to the cloak on my back. And if I need a new set piece, I gotta peep Wowhead. For whatever's in game, you know it's deep. And if you haven't vowed yet to leap, then join us in the forums, a group in the minds. Preventing sleep can help with whatever question, bring it on. From enchants to builds and beyond. I guess my whole point is, if you never wanna be wrong, and if you have a question, look, the hook of the song is go to Wowhead, 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 Wowhead. Pride still be alive after you dead. Wowhead, 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 Wowhead. Pride still be alive after you dead.
Something about gangster rap inspired by a site that you run makes me laugh.
I know.
Perk,
The guy really loves the site.
Perk, you're probably the least thuggish person I've ever met in my entire life. I mean that respectfully.
It's okay.
It's okay. So, in other news, Warlords of Draenor is now included in the battle chest. It's not sold separately. It is included in the base version of the game for $19.99. Although that does not include a character boost anymore. If you want a character boost, you will have to pre-purchase Legion because all of the character boosts are now level 100.
Yep.
In other news,
Yeah,
there is a free battle tag name change available currently. With Overwatch coming up, Blizzard reopened the free battle tag name changes. So if you would like to change your battle tag, visit the account management section of the site for details. If you don't want to change your battle tag, do nothing. Everything will stay the same. This isn't like a reset, it's just an offer.
Yeah.
So
now we have a ton of movie news to talk about.
So many movie newses.
I
so
know.
many. Do you want to talk a little about the in-game stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Blizzard announced we data mined these special transmog items. Blizzard finally gave us official info on them, so we don't have to go onto some EU site and run it through Google Translate.
Yeah.
And if you log on between May 25th and August 1st, you will automatically get these transmogs. Fight for the Alliance is the achievement that has replicas Lion's Fang and Heart, and Fight for the Horde for the replica Staff of Gul'dan and Bloodguard's Cleaver. These items are bind on account. And also, if you buy a ticket from certain providers, you can get a copy of WoW and 1 month of game time. The Blizzard Post has information on, basically every region and country, and I think that some other places might have additional promotions, like one person gets, like, a ticket to BlizzCon or something.
Whoa.
Like that.
I mean,
I think, yeah.
Just
yeah.
throwing that out there. You might go to BlizzCon.
That is pretty cool.
Ridiculous.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
Oh yeah, members of Regal Crown Club will also have the opportunity to win 2 tickets to BlizzCon 2016.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Regal Crown Club. I don't even think I have a Regal Cinemas around here. Okay, so I got the video clip for the ILM visual effects clip. So this is like maybe 2 minutes long. Let's check it out. Oh, I lied. This isn't a clip. This is a slideshow of the actors side by side with the CGI character that they play. Which I think people were especially excited about this because I feel like this is the first confirmation of Draenei in the movie.
Yeah. So the ILM put out a featurette, and then they also invited various press websites to this panel, and then they also put out these before and after comparison shots, which you are seeing right now.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So it's also cool that we see like Hellscream is there. Like some of the other characters, like, oh, this guy's famous. Like, is he going to be there and what role? And it's like, oh,
I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but so like he doesn't have any lines in the movie, but like Kargath Bladefist was definitely in the movie.
I feel like it's okay to say because they talked about every tribe in a lot of these interviews.
Yeah.
And like they were talking about how, for example, the Frostwolf have fur tusks and blue body paint, and the Bleeding Hollow, because of Kilrog Deadeye, they either pull out their eye or they wear eye makeup to cover their eye, and the Blackrock have lots of metal and black, and the Laughing Skull have these masks, and there's also the War Song. So,
I feel like that. Okay, so we had talked about this a while ago, whether there would be clan definition among the movie, and there definitely was. It is heavily implied that there are multiple clans. There's the Frostwolf clan. That like Clancy Brown's character, Blackhand. Right. That Blackhand is the war chief. Like that he's like the leader of all the clans. But like as someone who's seen it, I wouldn't have picked up which clan was which by those things, but knowing it, like I'm gonna see this obviously multiple times, it's something that now I'll look for. Like I think like any epic fantasy type movie, you need to watch multiple times to pick up all of those little nuances. I felt like the Frostwolves were pretty easy to identify, but that's very much because of their stance in the lore.
Right.
But I think it's really interesting. I'll definitely look into that. We did, like, me and the group who previewed it, we were, like, it was noticeable how many, there were at least a half a dozen, like, named NPCs from World of Warcraft who appeared in the movie who never had a line. Which was a really cool, like, because it's so subtle. It's not like if you weren't a fan of the games and stuff, you wouldn't pick it up as being odd or like why are they there? But if you are a fan of the games, the fact that they took the time, to put an actor in Kargath Bladefist CGI is meaningful, you know, to make it match up in that way. So, and I know that in this article it said that they had mixed and matched 52 different types of orc using tattoos, armor, hairstyles, which they ended up having like thousands of unique variations because they had 52 base model orcs right from the get-go, and then to add all the different the tooth tusks and the jewelry and all the stuff. I think it's really that's insane if you think about it. Like the scale of the CGI is absurd. The fact that they made unique models of each orc, like that's crazy.
They also talked about backstories for really obscure characters, which goes along the same lines as what you were saying, all that attention to detail. They use the example that if there's an orc and he's not fighting, they would make up a story about how he had a serious injury that ended his combat career. It's not just like, oh, he's this old orc or he chooses not to fight. They had this backstory, and then that character would reflect that with the scars he had.
Yeah.
So I thought that was also interesting. Also, that they said that Draka was the hardest orc to do because they said that she so they wanted her to resemble humans the most and to look very empathetic.
Well, and she's also she's also pregnant for not a huge portion of the movie, but she is pregnant. So like that adds to it as well, because that's a whole different body that you have to create. Right. But even and you see this very much in the orc culture in the movie, is that even like 9 months pregnant, or I guess however pregnant orcs get, what do I know? However pregnant, full-term pregnancy Draka is still like on the battlefield, and she wears like massive armor over her pregnancy. It's nuts. It's not. It's kind of a big divider between like. You know, I mean, there still are very, like, one of the things I've repeatedly said to people, and I can't give, like, a full movie review yet. I can't do it until the 30th. And even when I do, I might wait until it's closer because I don't want to accidentally spoil it for anyone. But one of the things that I was really impressed about in seeing the movie is that there were no tropey females, if you know what I mean by that. Like, even when Garona is in her, like, scandally, like, slave gear, she's not presented as like a sexual being or like a sexual object, you know what I mean? She's the slave armor is like humiliation among the orcs because she's not given real armor to protect herself. It's not humiliation because like, oh, like she has cleavage. It's a very different. And you get that right from the get-go just in looking at all the other orcs. And, you know, there's, like, a lot of the female... You see females in both the orc armies as well as the Stormwind armies. Lady Taria is extremely diplomatic and political. She's not, you know, a backseat wife or a backseat queen. She is very, very involved in everything that goes on in Stormwind and everything that goes on in Azeroth. So I think that was one of the things that I really appreciated about it. Final warning to the person in chat who was the last person to talk, because you keep saying stuff and it's not very nice. But I don't know. It was one of the things that really impressed me about the movie because it's so easy to, you know, do like what I keep saying is like the slave Leia, you know what I mean? Kind of like, oh, she's a slave, ooh la la. And like, that is not in any way how any of the women in the movie are depicted. They're all very much real characters with, you know, full character traits.
Yeah, I mean, just going off the notes a little, like, there's so many interviews, it's hard to summarize them all, but one thing that came up in some of the prepared statements and interviews was that it was really cool that, like, Garona seemed to be the center of the movie, and I think Duncan Jones was saying that he was kind of like, he's like, oh, it was really fortunate that it worked out that way, how he had this, like, big budget, awesome, you know, CGI movie, and we could have a character like Garona kind of be in the center of it all and show like her personal growth and how she's this, you know, she wasn't like sidelined. She like, you know, like she's really the center of the movie.
No, I think I would after seeing it, I would call her the main character, which is very odd to me because I don't feel like that's the way the movie was marketed. Although, I mean, that's not how Star Wars was marketed either.
Yeah, or like Mad Max.
Yeah,
like,
Mad Max. Is,
yeah.
And that, I mean, that is completely Scarlett Johansson's movie. So, I mean, I would argue that Garona is the main character, and I'm at least glad to see that in all the new merchandise that's coming out, Garona is getting her fair share. It's not, she's at least not being sidelined in that way, but that's not the director of the movie or that's not Blizzard. That's all marketing, and there's not much you can do about that. And unfortunately, that's a product of society because, you know, if depicting the movie exactly as it was worked in the marketing world, they would do it. You know what I mean?
And also for like a lighter example, it's like, why is there dubstep in trailers? It's like, well, we want to get all these people to see it to make money, so there's more sequels, so the fans can like it.
Yeah, so it's not, you have to keep that in mind anytime you see anything with marketing, that marketing's job is to get people in the theaters. The director's job is to make them enjoy their time there. So don't be too alarmed with anything that you see in marketing because it's not really indicative of the final product at all. But I think that people will be really excited. Also, if you want like a tiny little insider piece of information that I know I'm allowed to say because I put it in an interview, so somebody might have already picked it up, but they shot scenes with trolls that didn't make it to the final cut of the movie. So I'm really excited. Like when you go to theaters, I was saying that like, so I got to watch a scene being filmed while I was on the set, and there were trolls. Like that was the scene that I was watching was Stormwind getting attacked, and trolls were like, I don't know what side they were on because it was just a battle scene. So I couldn't, it was like everybody fighting everybody. It was very chaotic. And all of the orcs and all of the trolls were both motion capture. The only reason I know they were trolls is because I got to see a little bit of the post-production, and I saw that like Terry Notary, who is like the director of, or the lead motion capture guy. He's like everybody who is in motion capture.
Right.
He like helps them. He actually played a few different roles. You saw him in the clips just now as an orc. But I know in that scene he was actually filming as a troll. So I'm excited to see what the director's cut is, because
people would love to see that.
In the movie you see a lot of different races, but troll isn't one of them. So I am dying to see what they maybe had planned for that. Because it looked really cool from what I saw. But that being said, I don't feel like they were missing from the movie either. I think a lot of things ended up, I think they filmed probably 4 times as much movie as they needed, because there was
that was
so
one of the
much
interviews.
lore.
They were saying that after a certain point, there were scenes that were cool, but it didn't really further the action and the momentum built up, so they had to leave those behind. But
well, not only that, but they can't just introduce. They have to be very careful about introducing too much, because you don't want to confuse.
The fantasy world's already pretty different.
Exactly. So I'm excited to see how it goes. There was also, this was a separate article, correct, about Orgrim?
Yeah, they did another little featurette on him as well, which just was Rob Kaczynski talking as we saw scenes in the background.
Yeah, and that just kind of had to do with, Orgrim being really loyal to Durotan, but his primary loyalties lie with the Horde and the orcs, and it puts him in a really odd situation the entire movie, because he has to choose between 2 sides that he's loyal to both of them. And he has to make a lot of tough decisions. And
he's holding Doomhammer.
Yeah.
And there's some cool shots of the orcs by the Dark Portal, and also Fell Lightning, because for the original promotional materials, we just sort of saw the orcs and close up, and actually seeing scenes of the orcs with Fell Lightning and explosions and green, you're like, oh wow, yeah, Gul'dan, he's a thing. This was a presence the orcs had to deal with.
Yeah,
so
and they do a really good job in the
movie.
They do a really good job in the movie making Gul'dan a horrifyingly impactful character. He's a very scary guy in the movie. The movie itself is I think fans will be happy because it's dark. It's not World of Pillowcraft, as Chris Metzen would like to say. It's dark, and I mean, when you're talking about a movie that's titled Warcraft, I mean, it should be. It shouldn't, it shouldn't be this happy story of that's just not how it should be. And there's a lot of villains, and there's a lot of morally compromising situations. There's a lot of hard choices, and I think it gives a lot of insight into, a lot of times people make choices and you sit back and you're like, wow, what? How? And this movie focuses a lot on both points of view of those same decisions. So you see how one person makes this super grueling, hard decision, and this is multiple times, this isn't one specific place, but where they have to do something that could possibly be considered a betrayal, or it could be against their own moral compass, but they have to do what they feel is right, but it's not black and white. There's so many very gray moments in the movie. They really should have just named it 50 Shades of Grey.
That would have been good for marketing.
Oh my god, could you no, don't imagine. You
would get a whole different demographic.
Steamy romance novels.
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay, so I am obsessed with Paula Patton. I'm obsessed with Garona's character. So she got a featurette, and I wanted to show it in the show. So here 'tis. Oh yes, it worked.
I think that it's so important to be able to feel physically that you can do what your character is able to do. Nice. Garona has lived in a world where she has to be tough to survive. She's a fierce, strong, warrior-like person. And so the physical preparation, it was very daunting. No, I can do this. No. I want to do this. Yeah. It was 2.5 hours of physical training, 6 days a week. Then we added 2 hours of stunt training, and that's when I learned swordplay, knives, sticks.
We have a terrific stunt crew, but Paula has been willing to just sort of throw herself into their care. So we've actually been able to do an awful lot of stuff in camera with Paula that normally you would be using stunt people to do. So she's been fantastic.
It's like any kid's dream, right? It's able to do things like this.
So do you know what's funny? Obviously, first of all, watching that featurette, Paula is amazing. I love her so much. She took this role so seriously. And I feel like so many people, you'll even hear, if you watch my interviews that I did on set, even a lot of the journalists are very rude about it. There was this huge thing, 2 weeks ago, Travis Fimmel hadn't even heard of WoW. you know,
Oh, right.
and
Yeah, people
and like
like
here's
the angle up.
yeah, like just kind of making fun of it a little bit, very tongue in cheek. But when you see that, and she like, no, she wants to do all of her own stunts, and like I know that one of the things at the press conference that I went to last week, her call times were insane. Like she had to be at set at like 3:45 or 3:15 in the morning when nobody else had to
Right.
get there until 7 because she had this like physical stuff that she had to do. She had hair and makeup. And one of the other things watching this featurette that I realized that made me kind of take back some of my words in the past, in the original movie poster we see her and she's normal colored, and that is because her green was CGI. Her green
Right.
skin
So that explains
wasn't
what the
makeup.
promotional materials were.
So whoever was
Yeah.
given those materials didn't realize, which is their own fault. But like
Right.
that's why that she what they didn't whitewash her, they just didn't greenwash her.
Yeah.
So it's like interesting, kind of seeing that come full circle as well, because it makes that original promotional poster slightly more understandable.
Yeah,
Because
more
this,
context for that.
you know, more context for how that happened. But she's so awesome. She's so awesome. I think it's really. I think she's so awesome.
I know.
I did not include. There were a lot of new TV spots that came out
Yeah,
this week from all over the
there's-
world. I
yes,
couldn't
okay.
include all of them. There was one where we see someone who is possibly Asian.
Yeah, some older woman,
Yeah.
and she's suddenly involved in all the voiceovers for TV spots. So, you know, we've had like 16 TV spots so far, and maybe in 12 through 16, she starts showing up and talks about like needing her friends, and there's this mysterious evil out there that, you know, is really difficult to take down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't know that is her, but in the lore that would have been Khadgar's. If it was, would it be Ajin? Awajin? Oh God, I can't say these names. I tried. I just please know I tried. Awigin. Ajwin. She would have been Khadgar's mother in the lore. So just to give you a little context of who that is, she would also be long deadish. You know, it's how some of those dang mages, they're dead, they're not dead, they're ravens, they're old men. Who knows? But we don't know that that's her. It's definitely not confirmed in any of the movie clips that you see going around the TV spots.
Yeah, just a fan theory.
Just a fan theory, which is interesting. But I really liked this clip, so I wanted to show it in today's show. This is the first time that Khadgar finds Medivh in the movie, and it very, very well summarizes all three of these characters that you're going to see. So check it out.
Have a good look around.
Get some ideas what you're going to do with the place once it's yours?
Guardian, I renounced my vow. I didn't want to come here. I swear, Guardian. I urged them to find you. I told them. You should be the one to explain.
Explain what?
Val.
We'll go.
Every time it gets me, and that just it very well summarizes the three of those characters
Yep.
to a T.
So, like, trolls are in the movie. In the
You kind of have the troll, the try hard, and the very serious guy. And I really like that TV spot. I also like that it shows off some of the spell effects, although I will say they definitely look better on the big screen as someone who's seen them. But I think the spell effects in the movie were all awesome.
I think in the visual effects featurette, there was a scene of Gul'dan doing like mind flay or drain soul.
Life, or
it was this white spell and looked terrifying.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
oh man, and it's that hit. Every scene with Gul'dan is like, oh my god, he's so scary.
Yeah.
he's literally like Joffrey, like from Game of Thrones. He's like Joffrey, but like with magic. It's oh my god, he's horrifying. He's horrifying. So there was like you were just talking about, there is another inside featurette you can watch. Pretty much you could piece together all of these at this point and maybe see the whole freaking movie. Between all the TV spots that came out this week and the behind the scenes stuff, they did a whole behind the scenes of the ILM like studios. This is another one that we saw a bunch of like behind the scenes filming shots. We saw some shots of Durotan and Draco going through the dark portal, very generic interviewee type clips, a bunch of...
They probably, I mean, it's really fascinating because like they assume that your average viewer is just gonna like go to a movie site every few days and hopefully they'll see something about the movie. But for us, like, because we have to like make sure we find all this every day, we're just like inundated with the same answers over and over, given to different sites. And we're like, oh, that's a different shot. Let's put that in. It's actually really meaningful that we see someone actually going through the dark portal versus a loading screen.
Yeah. And the dark portal scene is crazy in the video or in the movie too. I'm really excited. My embargo lifts on the 30th, and I don't like a lot of people who interviewed at the same time I did have put their interviews out, but I really just don't want to like ruin any potential relationship going forward. Like, no, there's no spoilers in it. No, I don't believe there's any reason that I wouldn't be able to put it out early, but they specifically told me the 30th. So
I mean, maybe
I'm
like
waiting.
I don't know, some people are international and like it's a different embargo.
I think there are some, like, something like, just, I don't know if this is a site that did it or not, but someone like Rotten Tomatoes. Like, Rotten Tomatoes could break their embargo and they'll still be invited to every movie interview ever, because that's what they do. You know what I mean? Like, they're not really risking anything, especially if they're, you know, they're all professional movie interviewer guys and they know what questions they can and cannot ask without getting themselves in hot water. So I think a lot of it had to do with, like, I asked very specific questions about, I was very careful, and I've watched it back 3 times. I showed it to my husband who hasn't seen the movies. There's absolutely no spoilers in mine, but there are leading questions. There are, it just makes you think a lot more about the movie. And the questions I asked were all lore related too. So I don't know if they just kind of want to save that until the hype is a little more real, but I will literally, like, midnight on the 30th, my interview will be out. And I'm doing it. I interviewed 6 people total, but it'll all be in one video because I only got 4 minutes with each person. And they literally meant 4 minutes of filming. So like in one of the interviews, like a bunch of the cast and stuff is like asking me about my clothes, and that like literally ate up 2 minutes. I'm looking at him like, I want to answer you, but I also want you to shut up. Like, both of these things are happening right now. So I feel like in some spots of the interview I almost come across as like short and rude, but it was because I'm like, there's a guy behind them like doing literally this motion and they can't see that, and I'm like, you're making me anxiety. So I'm really excited for those to come out though, because I asked, you know, a lot about very specific things with, you know, like the actor who played Khadgar read the WoW books to like prepare for the role, and of course you have Rob Kaczynski who's so excited to talk about WoW. And poor Duncan Jones, because I just walk in there with like a stack of questions, like, I have some lore discrepancies that I would like to talk to you about, and he's looking at me like, great, wonderful, fantastic.
That was a detail I forgot to include. One of the people who did an interview asked Duncan Jones about what he's been wearing recently in interviews, and I actually thought that this was kind of sweet.
Is it the picture of his dad's mugshot, but then it has an orc? It's like orgrim. It's
a custom thing of Doomhammer interspersed with the prison plate.
Yeah.
And so the necklace you see him wearing a lot, the silver one, that's a gift from his dad as well.
Yeah, I asked him about that shirt, and I of course I awkwarded up immediately afterwards because I didn't know how to respond at all. Like, I'm not very good at responding to emotional situations to begin with, but I live in Rochester, and that was where his dad got arrested. So the mugshot says Rochester. So when I see this picture of this orc holding up the plate and then it says Rochester, I'm of course like, I love your shirt. And he's like, oh yeah, this is from my dad's arrest records. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I mean, it's not great, but it is great. And then I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I know your dad passed away recently. What do I say? What do I do? Back away slowly. Shut up. Don't talk. Like, that was like every interview. There are multiple clips of me looking like this. Because I just do not know how to people at all. And then you put me in a situation where my peopling skills are important and I feel the pressure. I can't handle the pressure. I need to get out of the kitchen because I can't take the heat. But speaking of kitchens, oh my god, this was an accidental perfect transition. World of Warcraft is making a freaking cookbook.
I know. It's super popular. Like, this was...
I know.
This was like more popular than movies in the beta.
I don't blame people for being excited. Yeah. So I grabbed a couple screen caps that you guys had on Wowhead, and I'm like so excited about this. It's unreal.
Yep.
It's unreal. Maybe I'll make freaking cooking videos. Cooking
You
with
could do
Panzer.
something. No, you could go through the cookbook and you could be like, this is what you do in game, and then like this is how you make the dish in real life, and did they match up? And I think that would be cute.
I would put real beer in cherry grog. What is your favorite recipe that we've seen previewed?
So I am excited. The beer basted boar ribs, I think.
Oh.
I think that would be cool.
So from the previews that we're looking at right now, I'm actually kind of excited about that honey spiced lichen because I quite like roasted any type of vegetables. Like if you take a vegetable and you put it in the oven with something on it that's going to make it crispy, I'm going to eat that. Like broccoli, kale, asparagus, it doesn't matter. If you put some sort of green vegetable in the oven and roast it, it's good. And that's some sort of like sweet spicy thing going on. There might be a dip. I'm in.
Yeah, they're talking about honey being used, but also garlic powder and pepper.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a sweet and sour thing. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm into yes,
the Rye
power
claws
leveling your
look really
cooking
cute
with
as
Panzer.
well.
Yeah, they did. I liked how they even put almonds at the end of like the little paws.
the
They look like
paws,
nails. Yeah, I think that's a really adorable idea. Someone said I should do a series called Power Level Your Cooking with Panzer. I'll just use recipes.
Actually, if you're watching the screenshots at the top right, they have the in-game icon, and then they talk about the skill level and the prep assembly required. So, you know,
that
if
sweet
you're
potato bread
cooking,
looks good
but this
too.
book is cool, you could, start up at the basic skill level and then work your way up.
I like how they also, like, if it's an alliance-only food, it, like, says that.
Yeah, so, like, Hearthglen Ambrosia is just for the Alliance. I like the presentation on that, too. Like,
yeah. No, in general, all the photography. This is, like, a very well-done cookbook that's, it's like, yes, it is, like, a novelty for somebody who plays World of Warcraft, but in the same sense, like, those recipes look good. Like, that sweet potato bread, I want to eat that. Like, I really like those types, like lemon bread, pumpkin bread, all that kind of stuff. I'm into it. I want the sweet potato bread.
The author got interviewed by Geek and Sundry, and they were asking her a bunch of questions, like, if there is this recipe, and, there's obviously fantastical things, what do you do? Or, like, was there something that was so bizarre that couldn't make it in? And she was talking about how, she wanted to make Westfall mud pie and gooey spider cakes work, but she just couldn't find parallel ingredients with like coyote tails or spider meat. But she said that the Rylak claws are really fun to make, and she
that's cute.
did make crunchy spider surprise, and she swapped in crabs for that. And there's even this thing where she's like, "Oh, do night elves have tomatoes? Can I make a night elf dish with tomatoes?" But tomatoes are part of the nightshade family, so like it would be something that night elves would have made based on the other plants they grow. So I just like hearing about the backstory.
Wait, tomatoes are nightshade, aren't they?
Yeah, so that's why it made sense, even though at first you don't really think of night elves with tomatoes. It would have been so much fun to like pull up this list of all the recipes and be like, okay, which one's gonna go in? And yeah, I think that just would be
I just think in general that's an adorable idea, and they also like it clearly was like well done. It wasn't just thrown out, and it wasn't made a joke of. Like I feel like it's like lately Blizzard realizes that their audience for merchandise is varied. It's something I was talking about because you know how some people on YouTube do like the lookbook videos where they show off like their outfit and accessories. Like I've been considering doing them, but like all with like nerd clothes, because the amount of freaking nerd clothes.
We talked that last week on the stream, like as an incentive, and you're like, no, I want to do this for real.
No, I want to do it for real because like I think people don't realize, like, even 3 or 4 years ago, if you wanted a t-shirt that was nerdy, it was a boy design just on a girl shirt. There was no variation to it whatsoever. And now you go to sites like Jinx and the Battle.net Gear Shop and like all these different things, and like there are different cuts, and there's sweaters, and there's chiffon tops, and there's leggings, and there's socks, and there's like all these different things that you can tell that Blizzard's really looking at their crowd of people who play their games and are interested in their games, and they're saying like, there's a bigger audience out there that would, be interested in these things. And even when you see things like a cookbook, like maybe in 2004 when World of Warcraft came out, like a cookbook wouldn't have sold. But like now 12 years into the game, people who started playing this when they were 14 or 15 years old are like in their mid to late 20s. And, they're cooking and they have kids. And like, this is like.
Yeah, they want to make something that other people will eat, especially if they have preparation time. Like, they need to have it look cool with like the Brylax swirls.
Well, and it just makes me think too, like as silly as it sounds, like everybody in their family somewhere has some sort of like, oh, that's like a family recipe, but a lot of them aren't like original. Like for instance, like my dad's favorite dessert of all time was Lucy lemon squares. They were just like these little lemon, they were delicious. They were like almost like little lemon cheesecakes or something. And the origination of Lucy lemon squares, which my grandma made for him and then he made for me, was when he was in like first or second grade in a fundraiser in his school. They sold these like peanuts cookbooks that were just like printed out like pieces of paper, like cookbooks, right? And like my grandma bought one and used a bunch of the recipes, and those are part of like my family's staple recipes now. And it makes me think, like, in 40 years someone's grandma's recipe is going to be lilac claws. Like
that's really, yeah.
And you don't think about that, and you don't know if World of Warcraft is going to be around then, or if Blizzard's going to be around then.
Thought.
But like that was like the first thing I thought about. That was like, you know, this could literally be like such a long-term impactful thing, like especially since it's so well done.
And also with gamers, it's like when you started playing WoW, like probably like you weren't super put together, like you're probably in college, like you were not awesome cooking food, and now you're trying to like, how do I
you're trying to adult
it's like, oh, here's this cookbook that, you know, is super easy to follow and it's on a familiar topic that I like, so I think it's a stepping stone to being an adult.
I really love that idea, because I just can't imagine, like, you know, I don't plan on having children, but if I ever did, could you just imagine that my kids would be eating freaking lilac claws and like, you know, 2150?
It's like, no, we cannot have Hearthglen.
Like, yeah, no, we do not touch the Alliance recipes, but you know, there'll be a point where like this is an awesome cookbook, right? But it's still a very niche market, and like it's interesting to think like how those could literally just become someone's like staple family recipes that, you know, other people won't have heard of. Like when I say Lucy lemon squares, like nobody knows what that means, but in my house we know like something special is going on if we're getting Lucy lemon squares, let me tell you. So
also, we're finding out that the co-author is Chelsea Monroe Castle, and she was a co-author for the Game of Thrones cookbook, so she is experienced at, you know, going through the source material and creating recipes that it's fans.
That's like a way darker. Like this had to have been way more fun than Game of Thrones recipes. My God, the wildlings eat each other. Wildlings eat each other. So, anyways, let's move on to some beta giveaway information real quick before we wrap up this show today. I'll get mine out of the way quickly, and then Perk can talk about Wowheads. But my video will be going up tomorrow. I'm doing a video that's basically an overview of everything that's in the Legion beta right now, what to expect, and then at the end there's a very easy contest that you can enter to win one of 150 beta keys. And I am under the impression that if this video does well and if the response goes well, that there is potential for me to get more beta keys to give away. So when that goes up, I would appreciate your support and entries in the gift things.
Yep, and I will obviously promote that as well.
Oh, thanks, Perk.
It's really cool that you're like, oh, like you did this guide. I'm so inspired. I'll do a video based on your guide.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the Wowhead end, every Thursday night we are putting up a different giveaway with a challenge. Of course, this week it overlapped right when the beta data hit, so that was a very fun time for the staff. Thank you for everyone for being patient as we process the data and pick winners at the same time. You know, similar to Warlords of Draenor, we have weekly giveaways for beta keys. And over the course of the beta, we will be giving away thousands of keys.
Thousands.
Yeah.
I had to beg Senpai Blizzard for 150, and she gets thousands.
I had to write this essay being like, please give us so many. I have like this detailed plan.
No, okay, to be fair, Perk, you write an essay no matter what you're doing.
This is true.
This is true. So this week's Wowhead giveaway for beta keys ends on the 26th, correct? And then a new one will start. And you get the beta keys immediately too. So like if it ends on the 26th, you're gonna get your key in the next couple days. So, which is really cool. So good luck to everybody entering all of these. Begging isn't gonna get you anywhere. Enter the contest as the rules specify.
Please read all the text on it, because you have to do a special thing so we know that this is actually you who is doing the challenge you come up with. And you know, like, just we explain in the rules how it's like one entry per account, and when the contest closes, and how you know if you've entered, and how you know if you've been notified. So I've been getting a lot of questions that are similar. So yeah, it's all in the post. You know, read the text, treat it like, you know, It's not like a quest, actually read the text and not just the objective in the big bold font. And yeah, this week it's about Tanan Jungle. So, yeah, if you do, not the super easy explore Tanan Jungle, but if you do like one of the achievements associated with Tanan, then you can enter.
Cool. Do it. I would
Yep.
assume most of the people in our chat actually play WoW anyways, so it shouldn't be a huge thing for you to do. Also, we still have some codes for Jinx as well as the Blizzard Gear Shop. Through the end of the month, you can use code WowheadFunko at the Blizzard Gear Shop to get 15% off Funko's Classic Pops Mystery Minis and Keychains. This does exclude any Warcraft movie pops or Dorbs. It's just for the stuff that came out prior to this month. Also at jinx.com, if you use code WOWHEAD in the month of May, you will get free shipping on all Overwatch products at Jinx, which they have a whole effing lot of. So wait, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm supposed to show you guys this, but they didn't tell me I couldn't show you, so hold on one second. Let me show you a thing that's coming out I want to say next month from Jinx. It's the coolest thing ever. I'll be right back.
Okay. As you're doing that, I will talk about another Jinx thing, which they're talking about movie merchandise coming soon related to Jinx, and I don't believe it's on jinx.com right now.
So
but,
how about...
Okay, I just was going to say that there's some
flippin'
Jinx
hoodie
shirts.
that Jinx is coming out with for
Oh,
Legion.
I was going to ask you about that. You did not tell me about that in advance. That is cool. I
Right, and
hoodie.
on the pockets, I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually embroidered warglaves.
I need to get
pockets.
this.
It's the coolest hoodie ever. It's actually very warm. It's not cool at all because it's all lined with this waffle material. But how freaking cool is this hoodie?
That is cool.
It's really cool. And the tattoos are they're Illidan's chest tattoos. I think my cat might have been sleeping on this. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I
was just going to say about Jinx that I think some of the Jinx shirts are actually for sale related to the movie on the Blizzard Gear Shop. So the Alliance shirt and the Horde shirt, they're already there.
Yeah,
and I have
they
another
are.
movie thought when you're done talking about Jinx.
Oh, I'm done. I thought this was a really cool detail though. It's the embroidered warglaves.
Yeah.
My cat was definitely sleeping on this. I'm sorry. I have 5 cats. I can't help. Yeah. Are you meowing at me right now?
Yes, the cat's I like Illidan.
She's you took my bed.
Yes.
What were you going to say? I'm so sorry.
Oh, so when I was looking at the movie merchandise when you're out getting your thing, I went back to the coming soon page and they actually added some of the things, and the merchandise coming soon, which they added, were the little charging cords that you talked about last week. So we've got the Alliance and Horde power banks, the Doom power
power bank. Okay, the power banks are super cool. That's a portable battery.
Yeah, so we've got power bank, then we've also got the Duratan's axe and Doomhammer charging cords,
which come with these very convenient 1.5 inch cables. They're really cool sculpts though. I just wouldn't get them for the purpose that they're supposed to serve. The sculpt and the paint is fantastic.
Yeah, it's like a Pepe sized weapon.
Yeah,
maybe just get one for Pepe.
You should.
Pepe one.
It'd be really great. You could use this little Spartan helmet. Do you have the Spartan helmet Pepe hat?
Yes, in the other room.
He'd look awesome.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. Pepe needs to do this now.
So good. But yeah, so I think that's all we had to talk about today. I'm super excited for Overwatch on Monday. Where I live, it's coming out at 7 p.m. on the 23rd. So I'm very, very excited. Oh, yeah, I did want to mention that too. Thank you so much to everybody from Wowhead who purchased loot crates this month. I think my ending total was something like $2,600. That's all going to be donated to charity as soon as I get paid. So that was really awesome of you guys. And I hope that whatever the Warcraft movie item is good. Because there is a Warcraft movie item in there, as well as some stuff from Marvel and Dragon Ball Z. I don't know what next month's is. But.
And I also wanted to say thanks to everyone who watched our St. Jude stream last week. We raised a ton of money, and at the very end, we hit your original goal for the month, so that was really exciting.
Yeah, we're I want to say we're close to 31,000 right now. We're either at it or right above it. So we're still going strong. I'm doing a stream actually as soon as I get off with you now. As soon as Wowhead Weekly's over, I'm going to be streaming. We're actually going to be doing some of the Portal 2 multiplayer puzzles. Me and Aveen, if anybody knows who that is, and we're going to be raising money for St. Jude, and
And you have two incentives, and I really want the 50,000 one because you're going to protest.
Yes, I think that would be so funny.
With the
So
Pepe on your head, you're going to be a doomsayer.
Yes,
Pepe.
yes. If we hit $50,000, I am going to go to a public game store. I can't go to the mall. I've actually been thinking about this, right? Because if I went to the mall, you can't like protest in the mall, like literally in the mall. That's private property. So I have to find a GameStop that's like standalone, and then I want to go outside of the GameStop. I want to like strap. I have Warglaves there. Hold on, I think you can see them. Maybe see them. I have Warglaves. I'm going to strap them like to my back. I'm going to have a Pepe on my head, full Legion attire, and I'm going to have like picket signs that say like, Legion is coming, the end is near, we must close the portal, etc., stuff like that. And then I'm going to have pamphlets that I hand out to everybody, and I'm going to film the whole thing until I probably get forcibly removed by law enforcement. But I think it'd be really, I think it'd be a really fun idea, and I think it would be one of those things that's, you know, just embarrassing enough to make people want to donate.
I like the idea.
So, and I think it would be funny, and I would love to hit 50,000. There's so many incentives in the middle. I don't even know them all because I did it at every 5,000. Right. Although it is slowing down a lot because we're getting towards the end of the event, but. Oh, also in the stream that I'm doing after this, the grand prize is a custom piece of Noxie Chew art, like an avatar for Twitter. So that's what's going on. But in the meantime, before we go, I do want to make sure you vlog from jail. I will. If we hit $50,000, I do the protest and get arrested for protesting. I'm pretty sure I would be on like a 5150 psych hold. Like, can you imagine, like, you're arresting some girl and she's like, but the demons are breaking through the portal. Gul'dan isn't really dead. I'm pretty sure I'd go to more than just jail. Like, it would be bad. But before we wrap up today's show, I do want to thank everybody who subscribed to us today and who has subscribed to us in the past on Wowhead Weekly. That really helps out the show. It'll take all of the ads off of our channel for you. You'll get access to our custom Twitch emotes, which we will be adding 2 more very, very soon. Thank you for following us, for tuning in live. There was about 250, 300 people in and out today, which was really exciting. So thank you so much for joining us. If you follow us on YouTube or subscribe to us on YouTube and watch our videos there, thank you. We still appreciate it. We do upload the VODs of this video actually same day now. Usually it's the night.
Faster.
Yeah, because I figured out a new method of doing it. I did my best. And thank you so much to everybody who subscribes to Wowhead Premium, which is a premium subscription to wowhead.com. It removes all of the ads from the website. It allows you to customize your Today in Draenor. You can track quests. Your name is in a special color when you talk in the comments or on the forums, and it directly supports Wowhead. So thank you so much to everybody who participates in all of those things. We will be here next week, same bat time, same bat channel at twitch.tv/wowhead at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, and then our VODs are always uploaded as soon as possible afterwards to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wowhead. I hope you guys all have a great weekend. I hope you have a great weekend, Perk.
Yep, Pepe will as well.
Yay!
And I hope you raise lots of money on your stream for charity.
Thanks.
And I'm really excited about Loot Crate doing well. Glad we could share that.
I know, I'm so excited as well. Okay, you guys all have a great weekend, and we will see you soon. Goodbye!
Yep. Bye!
What? Where'd it go? Why is this not here? I don't know what happened. Okay. This is awkward. I'm gonna turn off the VOD now.
All right. Bye,
okay,
guys.
Bye guys. Bye.